Hi, you're listening to the My Body, My Story podcast.
I'm going to try not to get emotional.
That's okay.
He was going through chemotherapy for advanced stage cancer and he could not keep food down. But for some reason, with the harp music playing, he did not get sick and he was able to digest his dinner.
This is the 45 over 45 chapter, where we celebrate rule breakers and role models, the women who inspire us to live life our way and to show their sensuality, beauty, soul, and true essence. I'm your host, Alina, and I'm interviewing 45 women over the age of 45 while they're sitting in my makeup chair and getting their makeover for the project's photoshoot. Here we talk about what it's like to be 45 plus, adjusting to the changes that come with time, and we'll listen to the stories of our participants. If you have an interesting story to share, we'd love for you to participate. You can email us on info@alexandrawalker.com, and that's Alexandra spelled with a KS, or visit our website, alexandrawalker.com. Welcome, Eva. Thank you for coming today and bringing your harp. I can't wait for the photo shoot. Cannot wait. But while you're in my makeup chair, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, I'm American. You can probably tell from my strange accent. And moved here to Sydney, about 3.5 years ago. And with my husband.
Yep.
And we live in Manly, which is a very scenic place and fun and pretty, and we really like it there. And anyway, before I came here, I was a harpist in the States as well as a music teacher, but I'm retired from teaching music in the schools.
Yep.
And so now I just play harp music for weddings. And people in Sydney seem to have so much culture. They love music, and so I've got a chance to see so many beautiful places in Sydney just from playing weddings and events and such. And just started exploring Australia a little bit, going to a couple of places, several places out in rural New South Wales, out in the country.
Nice.
And so, the countryside is interesting and it's so varied. Everywhere you go, it's different. The environment is different. It's different scenery, and
Were you playing there or?
just on vacation, just on a road trip.
Yep.
And because of the pandemic, borders were closed, and so this was our opportunity to explore our own state.
That's right.
And I love a road trip. There is just something so much fun about driving from one town to another, not really knowing in advance where you're going to stay, and just playing it by ear. And that's pretty much what I've done in life, is just start in one direction and know what I want to do, but realize that other opportunities could come up, other things could get in the way. And sometimes something that looks like an obstacle is really an opportunity for something wonderful that's going to happen.
Yep.
So,
Did you hire like a car, like an RV or something, when you did your little traveling, or was it four-wheel driving? Or
I drive a little Prius. My husband and I, we just took the car, different places, and maybe 8 months or so when I first came here, I thought I could get around without a car.
Yeah.
But I got to where I got to wanting to really see Sydney and to take the harp places in a taxi. Sometimes it worked, but most of the time it did not. And so I tried out different cars, and this one worked. And so it's given me more chance to play the music different places, and also to see more of Sydney and other places. I really love the Blue Mountains.
Oh, I love it.
It's a great getaway.
Yeah.
So
That's
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so peaceful.
Is there anything left on your sort of bucket list in terms of New South Wales?
New South Wales, I haven't been down to South Coast much.
Right.
In fact, I haven't spent very much time at Bondi, which I hear is very popular.
Mm-hmm.
There are a number of places in New South Wales and national parks. I've only seen a few of those, and there are beautiful ones.
Yeah.
So in New South Wales, that would be pretty much my bucket list. I made a list of different cities and sites I wanted to see in the state. And my husband and I, during COVID, during lockdown, border closings, we went and saw many of those places.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are bucket list places around Australia I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So I'll get to those eventually. Yeah.
And is it busy in terms of weddings and things like that with the harp? And
When I first came here, a number of weddings. Yes, people do love music for weddings.
Yeah.
And then, of course, during the height of the pandemic, when people were being very careful and there were restrictions for gatherings, many weddings were canceled.
Yeah.
And so that gave me an opportunity to do other things. I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of sewing and pursued, other interests.
Yeah.
And did some playing as well, but at home.
Yeah.
And since restrictions have been lifted more and the weddings are happening again, brides who canceled last year are having me play their weddings this year.
Oh, that's great.
And then I have new brides as well this year. So it's a good year
It's all happening.
for weddings.
2021.
And then next year it'll be back to normal,
Yeah.
a normal number of weddings. But I love doing them, so I've been very happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was busy in the beginning and then quiet and busy again. So, and then I teach lessons. I teach harp lessons to adults and children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. You keep busy, very busy.
Yeah.
Even pandemic hasn't really slowed you down. You've still been able to do things and
That's
play
true.
and travel. And
That's true. Yeah.
So what are you most passionate about? I mean, I know you're teaching and playing. Is there anything else aside from music that you can say that you're passionate about?
Well, when I lived in the States, I taught school in underserved areas. Areas where it was poor families or broken families. Also, it was ethnically maybe more diverse in some ways than other schools. Most of my students were Black, and so I would work some of the music that they enjoyed, and they enjoyed different music, the Black people in the States. And so some things I could have them do. I taught violin, viola, cello, and bass.
Oh, wow.
And to get kids motivated at a young age who are used to urban music and rap and such, you've got to be open-minded. And so I would mix in the classical music with music that they loved so that they would have something to look forward to at their concerts that their friends would want to hear.
Yeah.
And
you found a way, even though they're not used to that music, but they develop that interest and that love and that understanding for it.
True. And so here, I'm not teaching school. However, this is a very diverse country. You have people from all over the world.
Yeah.
And so I've done weddings that in Persian, in Lebanese, in Russian, in, none in Spanish yet.
All right.
And yeah, none in Spanish. I'm trying to think. Oh, a number of Chinese weddings. Yeah. So that's been interesting to see the culture of weddings from around the world here.
Yeah.
And to do weddings that are blended sometimes. Like one time there was a Russian-Persian wedding.
Oh,
and so they had two officiants and they had relatives coming from overseas for these weddings. And so they had to do it in 3 languages. They did it in English, in Farsi, that's Persian, and Russian. And I understood one of the languages. So, yeah.
So you were all right.
It was all right.
Translation.
It worked out fine. And what's interesting is these people come to me to hear music in my home, and they tell me, well, can you play this or that? And they mention music I have never heard before. So I'm learning music from all over the world now.
Yeah.
Just because people come to me, they hear the sound of the harp, and they think, well, this song from my country would sound good on it. And then I get to look it up and find beautiful new music that I otherwise would not. So what am I passionate about? Well, I guess I'm passionate about being open to other cultures and to learn to find what's beautiful in other cultures and to show respect for them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a great way to learn from different cultures, isn't it? Because everyone brings something that you're not familiar with, something you didn't know before.
True. And yet the same things that are important to one culture are important to others.
Yep.
Their children, their family, finding a life mate, having a fair break in life, enjoying nature. These are common things that we all share. And they're really what life is all about. So, yeah, we all have very, very much in common.
So everyone knows that with age we change.
Yeah.
What positive changes have you experienced as you growing older?
Wow. Well, I'll have to get a little bit personal about this. There are changes hormonally.
Yeah.
And I find that the hormonal change helps me to focus actually a little bit better.
Really?
Yeah. When your hormones are constantly in flux during your cycle, you can find that you're more distracted with certain kinds of thoughts that become more steady on an even level as you get older. It's not gone, nor does it occupy your mind as being the main thing you're focused on. So yeah.
So actually sound more able to focus on other things or be less distracted.
Or not distracted, right. So that's one thing.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm
Yeah.
sure there are other women who can relate.
I'm
Normally
sure there
people
must
are just
be.
afraid of it, right?
I was. I didn't know what to expect. My mother seemed happy.
Yeah.
And she told me years ago, she said, well, I didn't know it would feel this good to be this age.
Yeah.
And in fact, if your health is good,
count your blessings and
touch wood, my health is good.
Yeah.
Then life is just as enjoyable at an advanced age.
That's right.
Yeah. At first, it was hard to accept what I saw in the mirror, the inevitable changes. And then as I made more friends here in Sydney, and mostly friends my own age, I have such fun with them. And what we think of each other is what matters.
That's right.
More than, trying to meet some ideal in a magazine or something like that.
That's right.
So, yeah. By hanging around with people my own age, life is just much more pleasant. I'm able to accept the natural, normal changes a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of answered a little bit. So my next question kind of leading into it. So what is the biggest challenge you're experiencing in this age now? Sort of, is there any, you kind of touched on them, but is there any particular challenge per se?
Yeah. I have to pace myself a little better.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, I had what seemed to be limitless energy.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad pace. It's just a different pace. It's just slower.
Yeah.
And I find that if I realize when I'm starting a task what my limitations are, I'm less disappointed with myself, if I allow more time to get something done.
So you need to kind of adjust yourself.
Right.
You're different now to what you were. You need to sort of accept that and adjust your pace.
And to realize that I can't wait to the last minute for things and catch up like I used to be able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to think ahead, plan ahead, be ready, and yeah. But going at the slower pace, I think I notice more things around me, more, changes in seasons and the beauty in nature and looking into people's faces. Not because I'm rushing at the last minute, but because I've got more time and
it's like what's that? You slow down to smell the roses? Or
yes, I am smelling roses. Mostly roses. Yeah.
So, Eva, describe your greatest accomplishment.
Wow.
I know it's a little bit, I know you've taught and you've been able to get through to the kids who, haven't really been brought up with the classical music, etc. So is there anything else or anything more? Any other accomplishments? Or?
Well, if you talk to any teacher, they're going to tell you that same thing.
Yeah.
It's just so rewarding. I guess one thing, as a musician, I see it makes a difference with people around me. And not just make a wedding beautiful, but, playing music at a restaurant. You can set the mood for someone to propose marriage to someone at the restaurant. Or in one case, there was a restaurant where I played, and I did not know till the man passed away. Oh. The woman was bringing her husband there to eat dinner because, I'm going to try not to get emotional.
That's okay.
He was going through chemotherapy for advanced stage cancer, and he could not keep food down. But for some reason, with the harp music playing, he did not get sick, and he was able to digest his dinner.
Wow.
And so
Music is magical.
I did not even know that was going on. How that affected his physiology just blows my mind. Yeah. But if it helped make someone's last days more livable,
that's right,
and eased the worries of his wife, oh my goodness.
How rewarding.
And I didn't even know it at the time. So what is most rewarding? I want to pass it on to the next generation.
That's right.
And I have had some students who are especially gifted come to me, and that's like a gift to me, because they take full advantage of that, and some have become professionals. There's one who recently was admitted to the Conservatorium of Music here as a harp major. She came to me as a beginner, having moved here from China all by herself, leaving her family behind.
Yeah.
And she would take the bus once a week for a lesson, and she was so gifted, and she's on her way to becoming a top-notch professional harpist. And so I won't be able to play forever. My parents, they eventually got arthritis, and I probably will too. Yeah. And I'll be a music lover. But, music lives on through the people you pass it on to.
That's right.
So
your students will continue.
So that's my greatest achievement, is that I have students out there who are on concert stages, some who've graduated from top universities, who are doing what I do, playing weddings and playing in orchestras and what have you. Yeah. And a couple of them who are just world class, who win competitions, who have advanced degrees, and who are sure to go on to fulfilling lifelong careers as a musician. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, I can say as a stepmom, that was a great accomplishment.
Yeah.
However, it's something I can't take full credit for, because there's a father and there's a real mother there as well.
Yeah.
And certainly they did the lion's share of the work, because as a stepmother, you kind of step back.
That's right.
You must step back. You cannot even really exert that much of an opinion. You have to be gentle about that.
That's right.
And just sort of be there if something should come up where they need an emergency, or
they need your guidance,
or a guiding hand if the other two parents aren't around. Yeah. So I am pleased that the step kids have turned out to be wonderful people, wonderful young adults, and they're really going someplace in life. And I've been grateful for the experience of being their stepmother for a decade.
Yeah.
And
oh, that's beautiful. So going sort of back to the younger age, so what advice would you give your 30-year-old self?
Wow. To leave envy behind.
Right.
When I was first working as a harpist out of uni, I would play for people's weddings, and I had not yet met Mr. Right. Yeah. And it took me until my mid-30s to find my first husband. Okay. And I wasn't trusting that the universe would provide someone for everyone. And I would get anxious about it and worried about it, and maybe impatient with a boyfriend or something. And it was there for me. Marriage would be there for me in its own time. Yeah. And the blessing of it was that I had all that time free to focus on my career without having a man there trying to tell me how to do a job I already knew how to do, which a man is tempted to problem solve. Yeah. And they can't help it. That's their nature. Yeah.
So you needed really
I needed that freedom and didn't know it. Yeah. And I would be playing music for all these weddings, and I thought, wow, is everyone else getting married but me? So I would tell my younger self, if I could, just be patient.
Yeah.
Yeah, life brings what it will bring at the right time.
Yeah, it knows when you're ready.
Right.
So just wait and live your life.
Right. Another thing I would tell myself is to not focus on the pictures in the magazines and compare them to what I saw in the mirror. Because I didn't realize that those pictures were airbrushed and photoshopped and what have you.
Yeah, yeah.
And that the girl I was looking at was perhaps 12 or 14, and wearing clothes that I could not afford, that had been tweaked this way or that way to fit her perfectly, that she had a whole crew surrounding her, making her even more beautiful. Yes, people who are in magazines like that, they're extraordinary looking. And
It's all Photoshop as well. It's not really real.
Right, but they're also, the reason they got those jobs is because they're real standouts among people. They have won the genetic lottery. And everyone has their gifts.
Yeah.
There are a few people who have both beauty, intelligence, character, a work ethic, but there are not many who get all the gifts at once.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to be grateful for what you have and not make comparisons with people you've never met.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, comparison is just, grass is always greener, right? You're comparing one thing, but you don't know the person, you don't know their whole life, you don't know anything else that they're dealing with. So comparing is just silly, right? In
That's
every
so true.
aspect.
It is.
Where do you think the idea of perfect body image comes from?
Okay. I think it comes from some of the same places that our ideas of what the perfect face is, or ideal face is. It's the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes way, way back, and I don't know how far back.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at paintings in Egyptian pyramids, I've seen photographs, the same proportions are the ones that they seem to admire the most.
They're still sticking to that.
Yeah. And then you look at the Greek statues, and the ones that generally are considered most beautiful are the ones that have what we consider to be ideal proportions. Mm-hmm. And so that it goes way back, and it's still going on, of course, in the media. We see it, we're constantly bombarded with it.
Yeah.
But if you go way back into prehistory, the very first sculpture ever made is a woman. And they don't show her face, they just show her hair, where her face would be. They do hair, and it's curly hair. Mm-hmm. And it was somewhere in Scandinavia or somewhere up north they found it, made of stone, not very big, and it's rotund. It is round.
Yeah.
And she has a large stomach and large breasts and an enormous rear end and big thighs. And archaeologists have thought, oh, well, that's because back then people associated people who had enough to eat as being fertile. And a man wanted a woman who was fertile, and so this is what he was looking for, a woman who was rounder. Yeah. And some paintings, and body images, body standards go in and out of time, Like there are some paintings at some times where women, they wanted them looking voluptuous. Right now it tends to be more on the thinner side. Where does it come from? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know why it changes as much as it does. Yeah. I have no answer. Yeah. But it's something we all suffer from. Yeah. And I know when I began to age, and things began to, shift somewhat. Yeah. I was heavier. And because of the direction they were shifting, I thought the only way I'm going to look okay is if I lose some weight. To give some definition to my waist. It influenced it. It influenced it. Yeah. And I did lose a good bit of weight. Yeah. For that reason, and have kept it off. Mm-hmm. And I've used technology to keep it off. I'm monitoring my calories through the day using technology. Mm-hmm. And, so I stay satisfied and full. Yeah. But I pay a whole lot more attention to my proportions than I used to. And it's only because the aging process has gravity pulling things down. That's right. And so I'm like, well, if they're going to pull them down,
I need to change something.
I'll do this. That will help. Yeah. And because I'm an entertainer, okay, so that's part of it. Yeah. I will tell you that if women are especially large, sometimes it's harder for them to get work as an entertainer, even if they're good at what they do. And it is so unfair. It really is. But
why do you think that? Is that because of the way they look?
Media.
Or they can do less? Or why would they?
Why would they be larger? Because
No, why would they? Why would it prevent them from getting jobs?
Because there's
expectation that you have to look at
just the same way there's ageism, racism, people who are prejudiced against cultures. Mm-hmm. There's also people who are prejudiced against certain body types. Mm-hmm. And it's so unfair because it's related partly to genetics and age and culture and what's important to you. If you love to cook and you love to enjoy food, well, you're not going to be read thin. It's not possible. So, yeah, it's not fair, but it's the media that puts it out there.
Yeah.
Everyone we see on TV and in the movies who's famous.
Yeah, they all look a certain way.
They do. They do.
What advice would you give other women who will eventually undergo these changes or are growing older? What advice would you give them?
Wow. Stay friends with people at your own age.
Yeah.
Because then it reinforces the fact that it is normal and natural and healthy.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I can't compare myself to my stepdaughters. They're beautiful and fit and young, and that's normal for them at their age, right? And they are what I can never be again, and it's okay because I have other things going for me now. And there are other things you can do with your grooming or how you dress that are a little bit more trouble to do that kind of compensate for that. You know, for when you're younger, you don't have to try as hard. And my mother told me this. She said, when you get older, you just have to put a little more effort out. And she was right.
Yeah.
So I generally, when I'm going somewhere, I take more time in how I get ready.
Yeah.
And I think people respect that, and they perceive it as, oh, you do care about your looks because you've presented well.
So our goal should be to look the best you can at your age, not compare ourselves to someone younger who you can't possibly compete with that.
It's not possible. That's a losing battle.
Yeah.
It really,
What does it mean feeling good and looking good to you? So what do you think comes first?
Wow. You know, one thing feeds off of another.
Yeah.
If you're in good health, people can see that glow of good health, I think. And also, if you've gone to extra trouble to look good, or, you know, at that particular moment, and you look in the mirror, it lifts your spirits. And once your spirits are lifted, somehow you get this little rush of euphoria. Wow, I look good. I still got it, you know. And I think, they feed off of each other.
Yeah.
And they nurture each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what makes you feel the most beautiful at the moment?
Oh. Wow.
Can be anything.
Yeah. You know, when I look in the mirror, and I look in the mirror the way I feel inside, when I'm feeling good inside. That's the best. That's the best. Yeah. I mean, if I'm doing something kind of sporty and I look that way in the mirror, like, you know, I'm going to go for a rigorous walk. I look in the mirror and I can tell I'm ready to go, and I feel good then. If I'm getting ready to perform somewhere and I put on the right outfit and done my makeup and my hair, and and then I'm more confident when I perform.
Right.
Because I'm like, well, I could mess up, but I still look good.
Yeah, exactly. So it's okay.
Right.
I hit the wrong note, but hey, I look hot.
Well, something like that, yeah. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't
Gives
hurt.
you extra confidence.
Right.
I think everyone's like that, though.
Right.
If you look good, you feel better.
And if you have a wardrobe malfunction and you're playing well, you know, it's going to ruin how good you feel about how you did. So, that happens too. Not too often, but it can happen,
So, if you have one, but what is your favorite quote about being a woman? So it can be your own or someone else's, but your favorite one.
Wow. You know, I'm a musician, so I think song lyrics.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember who wrote this song. I think it was Billy Joel who wrote this song, She's Always a Woman to Me. And he talks about not aspects of how she looks, but aspects of her personality. And how even the things that are negative about her personality balance so well with the positive things that he loves her. And the chorus goes, she's always a woman to me. And he talks about, she takes care of herself. She does what she wants. Hey, she's got a mind of her own. And he respects that. So, I mean, I'm thinking that song lyric really resonates with me, and I love playing that song. She's always a woman. And it says part of being a woman is recognizing that you have a right to personhood, to having your opinion and your own desires, and you pursue those desires, and
that you're different to everyone else. So just be yourself.
There are many facets to you. You're more than just how you look. Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. It's been great chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Well, great chatting with you too. Thank you.
If you have an interesting story to share, we'd love for you to participate. You can email us on info@alexandrawalcott.com, and that's Alexandra spelled with a KS, or visit our website alexandrawalcott.com.